You guys remember that time I filmed a really shitty Grudge review and then said I was back, and that was 3 months ago? Hiya babes, and welcome back to my channel Around the Campfire, where I post and then leave the platform for 3 months. Today, however, is going to be a little different than anything you've seen on this channel, because today I am starting a brand new series. But before we get into all of that, I need you to take a little journey back in time. So imagine this. You're in high school, you're at a sleepover with friends, you're scouring the internet for YouTube videos, and you happen across a top 10 list of the scariest, most disturbing movies of all time. You hit the video thinking, I'm cool, I'm edgy, whatever it is. Number one, put it on right now. You watch the list unaffected, you and your friends giggling, and one of your friends decides to take the brilliant idea of finding a completely legal, not torrented version of the movie online. You find the copy of the movie and you think to yourself, no problem, whatever it is, I could watch it unaffected because I'm crazy, I'm kooky, I'm edgy, I can do whatever I want, no matter what the movie is. For me, it was a Serbian film. You put it on and begin. For the first 20-30 minutes, you're giggling, gaffing, goofing around, cracking jokes, and all seems to be well. But then it happens. The one scene that inspired me to make this entire series. No matter what it was for you, no matter what film, no matter what scene, it happens. All of a sudden, the room goes quiet. There's no more laughing, no more jokes. You're not even making eye contact anymore. You finish the movie in a stunned silence. None of your friends talking. And as the credits roll, you and your friends lock eyes with a face that only says, "What the hell did we just watch?" And even though you were both totally freaked out and honestly quite disturbed, you go to school the next day talking about how you watched it no problem and it didn't even honestly bother you. It wasn't that scary. I'm cool. But deep down, that scene has always stuck with you. You've always remembered it, and it's always managed to get under your skin. And because I'm a very bizarre adult who really has nothing else going on, I wanted to revisit that feeling from many years ago. So that brings me to the point of this video. Because you see, I set out to find the most disturbing movie of all time, in my opinion. And the way I'm going to do it is this. I found what I think is the top 32 most disturbing movies of all time, wrote them down, put them in a bowl, and drew them at random. I've set them up in a round-robin tournament style, which will go like this. Each tournament will have 8 movies competing head-to-head. Each episode will pit 2 movies together to see which is more disturbing and which was a better movie. Once we have a winner, they move on to the semifinals, so on and so forth until we have a tournament champion. There's a grand total of 4 tournaments, and each time we have a tournament champion, they will move on to a larger bracket where we will find out the grand champion. I basically stole Mr. Gigi's idea but put it to an episode of Madness, but Madness isn't the show anymore, and fuck you, Mr. Gigi. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into our first movie, The Collector. So the movie opens up with a couple coming home from a night out together, and they have definitely been drinking. The wife heads upstairs to the bedroom to prepare for the tender nasties when she notices a strange box in the middle of their room. The husband comes up to investigate, but before he can open the box, an unknown man grabs him from off camera. And I just gotta say, where the fuck did he even come from? He grabs him from the side, so there's no way he was in the box, so what, did the couple just not see him when they came in? Did he hide in the shadows? Did he come from the darkness? Is he the night? Anyway, we then cut to this weird techno-punk American Horror Story type intro, and honestly, I can't tell if it bangs or not. Never mind, this shit definitely bangs. After that, we jump to a family having plenty of renovations done on their house as they have just moved in. This leads us to our main character, Arkin, who is a locksmith installing locks, window bars, and a security system in the family's home. We meet the family Arkin is working for. There's Michael, the white dad, Victoria, the white mom, Hannah, the youngest white child who comes complete with child acting,
I'm a mermaid.
and Jill, the oldest white daughter whose parents just don't understand her, man. Jill has this really weird scene where she tries to bum a cigarette off of Arkin.
Hey. Let me bum a drag.
Sorry, I'm not adding to your delinquency.
What are you, a narc? Give me a drag.
Yeah, dude, like, what are you, some kind of fucking square, dude? What are you, some kind of some kind of narc, dude? Arkin? More like Narkin, dog. Then, as Arkin is finishing up some repairs, he notices a wasp nest as a ton of wasps land on his arm, and he has absolutely no fucking reaction to it. He goes towards his truck and gives the exterminator guys a heads up about the nest, in which they reply. We then learn from Michael that the family will be leaving for a trip today, which sets the tone for Arkin's true intentions in the film. We then cut to a bowling alley where Arkin is meeting up with his daughter. He says he has someone who wants to meet her, and when she asks who, he does this. Turns out it was actually just a teddy bear, but upon giving it to his daughter, we meet his girlfriend, who is just not having it with this bear.
What is that?
Daddy got him for me.
Damn it.
Yeah, what the hell is this, a gift for our daughter? What, are you trying to be some kind of good father? You disgust me, honestly, Arkin. How could you? We then find out that Mom of the Year is upset because she needs money Arkin promised her, as the loan shark she owes it to needs it by today. Arkin says he doesn't have it all, and she says deuces, we're out of here. Arkin tells her to wait and give him till midnight, and he'll get the rest of the cash. He then goes and meets with Emerald from You Got Served, and it is here we learn that Arkin's locksmithing job is only a front to get him into wealthy homes and steal their valuables. You know, and I gotta say this right now, guys, because I'm all about the positive message. I would never steal anything, okay? Stealing is absolutely wrong. I mean, you know, the only thing I would steal is your girl, you know, and if you ever want to see her again, you need to PayPal me 10. He tells his employer Roy that he can get the stone from the Chase family's house very easily, as they will be out of town for a while, but he needs to get paid tonight. After a bit of disagreement, he informs Roy that he is the only one who can get inside the safe, and Roy hesitantly agrees. He then sets off on his journey to steal the Declaration of Independence. Just kidding, he's gonna steal like a stone or some shit, I don't fucking know. So he gets into the house no issue and begins to look for the safe. He finds it in the large mirror and begins to try and crack it. However, while he's trying to get in it, he hears someone coming up the stairs, and this is where we are introduced to the Collector. The movie does this thing that I absolutely hate, which is that every time the Collector's on screen, there's like this weird, clearly like ADR'd in breathing sound. I know they obviously did this to like add atmosphere and some sort of tension, but it honestly just made me uncomfortable every time it happened. It's so loud, it's so in your ear, and it's so out of place. Sometimes it doesn't even match the Collector's voice. I mean, the breathing isn't even consistent. Sometimes it's a younger woman, sometimes it's from an old man. I don't know why they did this, but I hated it every single time. So Arkin begins to sneak out of the house to escape the Collector when he sees a man on the floor screaming and bleeding from his face. He realizes the man is Michael Chase from the beginning of the movie. Michael believes Arkin is the one who is attacking him, and he tries to fight back by grabbing a golf club. However, grabbing the club sets off a Saw 5 level trap that allows the Collector to recapture Michael. Arkin says not my problem and runs over to use the phone. He picks it up and somehow fails to notice the giant fucking nail sticking out of it, and it stabs him in the ear. Hello? Ow, fuck. That's not good. That was a dumb bit, I'm sorry. He tries to escape out the window, but when he puts his hand on the boards, a bunch of razors clamp down on his hands. He shakes this off because being a locksmith makes you invincible, apparently, and he continues to try and find his way out of the house. But the Collector is hot on his trail as he now knows someone else is in the house. We see a few more traps set up as Arkin makes his way through the house, a chandelier with knives, a bunch of razor wire, and an unnecessary amount of bear traps. Arkin finally finds an open door and goes inside, only to discover that it is the Collector's personal torture room. We get a quick jump scare and see that Michael is still alive, but that he's been tortured pretty badly. He tells Arkin that his wife is down there as well and he needs to get her out. He also tells him to get his gun from the safe behind the mirror and gives him the combination. He finds Victoria and she tells him that the youngest daughter Hannah is still in the house, but the Collector is yet to find her. Arkin says that he'll look for her, and Hannah screams to distract the Collector so Arkin can escape back upstairs. He unlocks the safe and finds Michael's gun, but he also finds the Sorcerer's Stone from the first Harry Potter movie. He comes across the red box from the opening of the movie, and the man from that scene is inside. The man explains that the reason he's called the Collector is because he kills the entire family and always takes one with him. Arkin says cool story bro and continues to look for Hannah, only to stumble upon a room covered in acid. He drops a book on the floor, which alerts the Collector to his whereabouts. And I swear you guys, when he turns around in this scene, for some reason, all my brain could think of was that he reminded me of Bible Man. Yeah, I don't know either. Arkin escapes the acid room, finding a paperclip on the dresser on his way out. He heads back to Bible Man's torture room and sees that Michael is like super dead. He makes his way over to Victoria and is able to pick the lock on her restraints and free her. Arkin tells her that no matter what, she needs to stay behind him and not to look at anything. However, she completely ignores this because horror movie and sees Michael strung up like a punching bag. This makes her freak out, allowing the Bible Man to show her some good Christian values. Arkin says, well, shoulda did what I said, bitch, and pieces out on her. Although with the power of Botox, Victoria looks at the god of death and says, "Not today, Bible Man," as she is still alive. Bible Man takes her to a bathtub and begins to sew her fucking mouth shut because apparently he's a creepypasta OC from a few years ago. While Arkin is trying to escape the house, he hears a car honking outside. The camera cuts inside the car, and we find out it's none other than Jill herself, the oldest daughter who tried to bum a Siggy Azalea from Arkin earlier in the film. And all of their dialogue is as cool and as edgy as you could ever imagine. Yo guys, I might have to put on some protective gloves here in a minute, because I'm scared I'm gonna cut myself on all this edge. Jill and her boyfriend head inside the house and begin to try and get down with the Tinder nasties when Jill sees Bible Man across the room like he's on private chat. They say not enough tokens, and White Knight decides he's had enough and tries to swing on sight. But Bible Man knifes him through his fucking fist. Holy shit. Alright, Bible Man, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and give you that one. That was kind of dumb. Yo, did Bible Man just turn up the AC? Because it just got pretty fucking cool in here. Bible Man then Sparta kicks the boyfriend onto a pile of, yes, actual pile of fucking bear traps and absolutely destroys Chad over here. He starts to attack Jill, eventually tying her to the staircase, but Arkin comes through with the assist. He cuts her loose, but she thinks Arkin's gonna hurt her because Jill is the worst character. She goes for a pair of scissors, but they're rigged, and it launches her into a bed of spikes on the wall via fucking springboard. Okay, was it dumb to attack Arkin even though he was clearly helping her? Yes. Was the method of death pretty silly? Yes. But did I enjoy the scene? No. Arkin says, "Aw shit, 0 for 4, better go for another round," and goes to save the man in the box upstairs. When he tries to pull him out of the red box though, he sees the man's feet are nailed through and chained to the box. Arkin says, "Sorry dog, good luck with Bible study," and escapes through the window. However, when he looks back, he sees Hannah through an upstairs window, with Bible Man not lurking too far behind. Inside, Bible Man spots Hannah and decides it's time for some extra Sunday school, and he goes after her. Arkin intervenes, and they attempt to use a fish tank and a TV to shock Bible Man. However, Bible Man says the only thing that shocks him is the lack of godliness in the youth today, and throws the man from the red box in front of him to take all the damage. Arkin helps Hannah escape down a laundry chute, and before he can follow, he gets knocked out by Bible Man. We then cut back to the torture room where Arkin is strung up by fishing hooks in his hands and back. He slices Arkin's forehead open and hammers out one of his teeth. And I'll be honest, y'all, out of all of the weird, gnarly shit in this movie, this one kind of got me the most. I don't know, something about somebody using a hammer and chisel on somebody's tooth just kind of made my skin crawl. Bible Man gets distracted by a noise Hannah makes and begins heading that way when Arkin taunts him with some questionable dialogue.
You got your fucking faggot!
Okay, it's the heat of the moment. He's a little delirious. Maybe, you know, he didn't realize what he was saying. So, you know, let's just move on. Forget he said it, and let's just hope he gets out of here alive.
You got your little fucking faggot bitch!
Okay, maybe he's just trying to use the most awful word he can say. You know, he just thought of one of the most heinous things he could say because he knew it would get a reaction out of Bible Man. Maybe he thinks it'll trigger Bible Man because it fights against his Christian outlook.
Come here, you faggot, I'm gonna eat your fucking heart!
Okay, never mind, fuck it, we're Team Bible Man. This works for a second, and Bible Man starts to torture Arkin again, but a police officer shows up, causing him to leave his victim behind. The cop gets killed because he's a cop in a horror movie that isn't Deputy Dewey, but this allows Arkin to break free. He sees Victoria is dead, finds Hannah, and dips like a chip. They narrowly escape from the laundry chute, but Bible Man is hot on their trail. And then Arkin gets in one last battle with Bible Man. Bible Man has the cop's shotgun, and he's got our hero dead in his sights. He fires a shot, hitting them point blank, and thus ending our story. Except it doesn't, because Arkin went fucking god tier like the hero we deserve. Minus the homophobia. He uses a mirror to trick Bible Man into thinking he was shooting him when he was really across the room. He sets off the chandelier trap, injuring Bible Man and allowing him and Hannah to escape. They see approaching cop cars and go to wave them down, but Arkin gets hit by one. They take Hannah to safety and put Arkin in an ambulance. We're shown a scene of his wife and daughter nervously awaiting his arrival. He asks the medic what time it is and says he needs to call his wife, but before he can, the ambulance is struck by another vehicle. Bibleman then fucking ninja stars the medic, cuts Arkin down, tosses him into a red box, and puts him in the back of his van. We see Bibleman ripping off the Exterminator logo from the beginning of the movie, and realize he was probably this guy. The van drives away and fades into the credits. We are treated to a quick post-credit scene that shows Arkin is still alive in the red box and is now Bibleman's newest toy. He is now part of the collection. And that, my lovely babes, was The Collector. Now, did I think the movie was super disturbing? I don't know. Definitely had some gnarly scenes, a couple of gross out moments. Was it enjoyable? Honestly, yeah. The movie's so fucking silly and over the top, and I get what it was going for. It came from this era, of sort of post-Saw kind of movies where it needs to see how much it can push the limits on what it can show on camera. It definitely has that mid-2000s feel of overly serious that ends up inevitably coming off kind of goofy. But honestly, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a good time watching it. But with all that being said, this journey is far from over. Oh no, ma'am. We are just beginning. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our next movie, Eden Lake. The movie starts and we are thrown into a classroom where we meet one of our main characters, Jenny, who is about to go on vacation with her boyfriend, Steve. The second Jenny gets in the car, Steve immediately begins trying to smash.
What's that?
Guy's wife had a bad back. Kinky, huh?
Like, come on, man. I get being in love and wanting your partner really bad, but can we at least get to the damn hotel first? They start heading towards their destination, which is a quarry Steve and his family used to visit every summer when he was a child. The couple continues driving, and we hear a radio broadcast discussing the increasing rise in disobedient children in the country. Steve arrives at a stoplight, and when it turns green, he starts to drive again when a bunch of young teens on bikes speed across the front of his car. The couple arrive at a bar and sit down for a drink when they hear a mother arguing with a child. The child is acting up, but the mom says fuck them kids and asks him what the five fingers said to the face. They stay the night at this hotel and in the morning begin to head over to the quarry. However, when they arrive, they see that it has been sectioned off as it is being turned into a suburban community. Steve says no thank you ma'am and finds another entrance to the quarry through some bushes and trees. They head down to the quarry, but on the way they run into a small child looking at some bugs. Jenny asks him what's good, he says he can't talk to strangers, and Jenny kindly fucks off. And honestly, I gotta give Jenny credit. This is how you should handle this situation. If a kid says don't bother me, I don't talk to strangers, fucking deuces, I'm out of here. They find a spot on the beach. Michael talks about banging again, and some teens show up and start bullying the kid from earlier. Steve decides to mind his own business when even more teens show up and they start being super rude. Their dog starts bothering Jenny, and they start playing bangers on their boombox like the one kid from high school who thought he was too cool for school. You know who you are. The teens continue being super cool and edgy, so Michael decides to approach them and tell them to chill out and turn their music down. Okay, boomer. Alright guys, I'll go ahead and delete my channel now. The kids clearly aren't going to budge, so Michael calls it quits and heads back to a spot. Jenny suggests leaving, but Michael says he won't be bullied by a bunch of kids and decides to stay. The kids eventually leave, and Michael and Jenny start to set up camp for the night. Steve and Jenny are taking a one-way trip to the Bone Zone when Jenny hears some strange noises outside the tent. Steve says don't fuck this up for me, but Jenny insists he checks it out. He's gone for a second and... Oh, fuck. I wasn't scared, you were scared. When the couple wakes up, they notice their food is all rotten and decide to head into town for some breakfast. Upon leaving, they run over a beer bottle that one of the hoodlum kids left, which gives them a flat tire, and Steve gets uncomfortably upset about this.
Fuckers!
He sees the kids riding by on their bikes, and they ask him if he likes apples, and if so, how'd he like them apples. He chases them down in his car in a blind rage, but they get away, so fuck it, time for pancakes. We get this really weird scene with the waitress, where Steve asks her if she knows any of the kids riding around on bikes. She jokingly asks if they've been messing around with them, and when Steve says yes, and says he wanted to tell the parents, she says not my kids, and leaves. And I guess this is just sort of how parents are, but I don't know, it's just weird to me how defensive she gets. It's like when a white lady's kids get accused of something, they immediately just go on the defense. Steve and Jenny leave, and on their way back to the campsite, they see the kids' bikes out laying in a front lawn. Steve decides he's going to give them what for, and goes actually inside of their house without them knowing. And it was at this point in the film I started to wonder, who's the real villain here? Steve takes a quick dip in the lake, and when he comes out, decides this is a good time to pop the question. However, before he can wipe Jenny up, he notices the car keys are missing, which sends Steve into another frenzy. The kids swing by in their new whip, and the couple have to walk back to town. On their way, though, they run into the group of kids having a bonfire, and Steve asks them to politely return his things. The kids tell him to eat dicks, which makes Steve go Super Saiyan 3. One of the kids pulls a knife, but lacks the accuracy of Bible Man and kills the main villain's dog.
If only he'd used the true word of God, you know what I'm saying? Shout out my man JC upstairs, baby.
What am I talking about at this point? Steve says sorry for your loss, and he and Jenny head back to the car. They start to get away, but crash into a tree, which stabs Steve in the shoulder. He can't get out, so he tells Jenny to go get help, but she hears the kids coming and hides under a tree. The kids find Steve in the car, and we cut to the morning where Jenny is still under the fucking tree.
Like, I get she was hiding under the tree from the kids at first, but once they left, why didn't she go for fucking help? Or at the very least, follow them? She just decided, I don't know, I'm gonna take a fucking nap right now. I'm pretty tired.
She returns to the car, beginning to follow Steve's blood trail, still choosing to not go get help. She sees Steve tied to a post by barbed wire surrounded by the kids. The main villain, Brett, starts making each kid cut him with a knife while having another kid film it. Some are a bit hesitant and some are more raring to go. This kid definitely runs to class like Naruto. The kids keep torturing Steve and Jenny is watching from afar. She gets the idea to connect to Steve's phone via Bluetooth and call the police because she couldn't call from her own phone, I guess. This accidentally alerts the kids to where she is and they begin to chase her, which allows Steve to get free. Brett tells one of the kids to go back and keep an eye on Steve, but when he gets there, Steve is gone. Steve finds his car, grabs some supplies, and dips out of there. He sees one of the kids approaching and decides it's time for batting practice and swings for the fences. Luckily, Steve is untalented and he misses because it was actually Jenny who was approaching from behind. She finds them some shelter and we get an honestly kind of sad scene where Steve realizes he's probably not gonna make it.
Jesus, God. That's black blood. It's got blood. I'm fucking bleeding to death.
Jenny is patching him up when she finds the engagement ring in his pocket.
Okay, guys, so I know I've been bagging on this couple since the start of the movie for being a weird hetero couple that are always trying to get down on some Tinder nasties, but I gotta be real, this moment's pretty cute. You know, I actually kind of feel pretty invested in their relationship now, and, you know, I just want to see them prosper, and I really want to see them make it out of this. God damn it.
The kids find the shed where Steve and Jenny have hidden and bust open the door. When they bust it open, though, there's no one inside. Jenny somehow managed to get her and Steve underneath the shed into the water. The kids decide to split up, and Jenny sees this as her chance to finally go get some help. She knows she can't take Steve due to his injuries, so she PETA from Hunger Games his ass and sets off. She's running through the woods and steps on a spike, which alerts the kids to where she is. She eats that shit out of her foot and keeps moving because Jenny keeps it G like that. She's trekking through the woods when she stumbles across the kid who got bullied at the beginning of the film. He says he'll take her to where his mom picks him up, but when they get there, he starts acting really suspicious. Jenny grabs his phone from him and realizes he has alerted Brett to where they are.
Holy shit, I can't believe this kid just pulled the biggest heel turn of the century.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch!
The kids knock her out, and we cut back into Jenny and a dead Steve tied to a tree covered in gasoline. The kids tell Steve it's lit and strike a match, but the flames burn through Jenny's restraints, allowing her to escape. Brett says if you don't come back here, I'm gonna get this kid ready for a Ghost Rider sequel. Jenny doesn't give an ounce of a fuck and keeps running, and they set an actual kid on fire in the movie. Holy shit, I can't believe this. They actually set a kid on fire.
Ah, fuck him. He turned on a girl, Jenny. Light him up, boys!
Jenny keeps running and discovers a map of the area, but the kids aren't far behind. She finds a place to hide in a trash can, and they eventually leave. She climbs out, and one of the kids approaches her timidly, but she gives him some glass acupuncture before realizing he was going to help her. The kids find Blonde Gibby on the floor and realize there won't be an iCarly reunion. Another one of the kids says this is all too much and wants to walk away, so Brett fist pumps him out of this world. He yells at the girl from the orphan and she runs away, leaving Brett all alone. Jenny makes it to the road and sees a car coming, and he gives her a ride.
And with that, our last woman standing, our hero Jenny, makes it to town safely.
Town's the other way.
Where's the other way?
My fucking brother's out here. He's supposed to be home.
Your brother.
My little brother. Now you got me fucking worried.
The guy gets out to help his brother, and Jenny GTAs him and steals his car. She drives out of the woods and lets the orphan join her parents in the big white party in the sky. She arrives at a house and there are people having a party who take her inside to tend to her wounds.
Okay, minor hiccup, but, you know, she still got to town, she still got to safety. I'm sure there's nothing that could go wrong now. She's okay.
What the fuck? That's racist, man!
Okay, so it turns out this is actually Brett's fucking house. We see the sibling to his dog, they recognize their friend's van, and we see Brett's dad from earlier in the film. Jenny excuses herself to the bathroom and locks the door behind her. The adults break in and we see Brett standing right behind them. Jenny tries to explain what happened, but they don't believe her because...
Not my kids.
The dad tells Brett to fuck off upstairs, and the adults drag Jenny into the bathroom and shut the door. We see a scene of Brett going upstairs to his room as Jenny screams echo in the background. He deletes all the videos they took of them torturing Steve and leaves us with one last smug look into the camera. And that, my lovely little babes, was Eden Lake. So, did I think this movie was disturbing? Yes, but not in a traditional sense. I think the more disturbing aspect of this movie is the message, which that most of the time parents will defend their kids blindly no matter the situation because, well...
Not my kids.
Yeah, I think sometimes parents are so unwilling to admit that their kids could ever do wrong that when they do, they just simply choose to turn a blind eye. And did I enjoy this movie? Yes. However, I will say I didn't enjoy it as much upon rewatch as I did The Collector. I think The Collector is a movie that you can rewatch over and over again, especially with friends. It's definitely a movie that I could turn on at a social gathering and we could kind of just sit there and enjoy how silly and crazy it is. Eden Lake is not that. Eden Lake is a movie that you watch and let the message sink in and then really never watch again. But with that being said, my lovely little babes, it is time for me to pick a winner for both categories, that being most disturbing and that being most enjoyable. So for most disturbing, I have to go with Eden Lake. I think this movie, like I said, is disturbing in a less traditional way, but I think it was more disturbing than The Collector. The Collector has some gross scenes, but overall it was really silly. It was kind of fun, but I think Eden Lake was more disturbing. However, on the opposite hand, I believe The Collector wins category for most enjoyable, simply for the reason I put. I think I enjoyed Eden Lake more the first time, but upon my second viewing, I realized The Collector has more rewatchability and is therefore, in my opinion, more enjoyable. So, for most disturbing, Eden Lake moves on to round 2, and for most enjoyable, The Collector moves on to round 2. But anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me here on Around the Campfire. It feels so nice to be back again, but also be working on such a huge project. I've sunk so much time and energy into this video, and I'm like so excited to be doing this series because I have a lot of faith in it and I have a lot of passion for it. I think it's a really fun, cool idea, and it gives me a chance to watch a lot of different movies. Some I've seen, some I haven't seen, some I've never heard of, etc., and just sort of have a good time. But yeah, with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, all that. Go follow my social medias down there. I created a Patreon, which will be launched a little bit before this video goes up, so that way I could put it in the description. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear my full commentary track for both of the movies I reviewed here today, make sure you go ahead and subscribe on my Patreon, and you can get both of those entire commentary tracks and listen to my first time viewing reactions to the movie. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you next time as we gather around the campfire.